All right, so hello everyone again. My name is Abby York. I work for the Environmental Leadership and Training Initiative, or ELTI, at Yale University. We wanted to welcome you today to this information session to learn more about the Tropical Forest Landscapes Online Certificate Program. This year-long certificate program offers a unique opportunity for environmental professionals from around the world to connect with the Yale School of the Environment to develop concrete skills, advance your careers, and to explore science and solutions related to tropical land management from many different perspectives. We're thrilled today to be joined by 3 different current and past participants who have come to help share their perspectives on the program and how they approach the practical project elements of the program. Our 3 participants today include Godwin Cudjoe, Laura Piccoli, and Cesar Zambrano. Godwin and Laura are past participants from last year's cohort, and Cesar is actually part of the program this year. So we have divided today's session into 4 different parts. First, Gillian will give a brief program overview. Then we will hear from our participants, open it up for a Q&A session. And lastly, we'll kind of go over some of the details on how to apply and some additional information. For some housekeeping things, we are going to be recording this session today and we will post it on our YouTube channel shortly after the event. If you have not already, we did launch the poll. Please submit your answer so we can see where everyone's at in terms of thinking about the program. We will share the results at the end, but we can already see there's a lot of folks here that are just learning about the program or are already kind of considering it and thinking about applying. So we're very excited to have you all here today. All right, at this point, I will turn it over to you, Gillian, and we can go through the program overview.
Thank you.
Sure.
So nice to see everyone. It's so neat to see from so many different countries, and that's, as I'll mention in a minute, it's so representative of the program itself. And we're so pleased to be welcomed today by our 3 guests, 2 of our past participants and 1 of our current participants. As Abby mentioned, before we jump into the panel, I just wanted to give a small overview of the program. We have so many of you, it looks like on the poll, 41% of you so far just learning about the program, so that way we can set the stage. And then as you have questions, we will have time at the end for Q&A. Today we will focus on questions related to the participant experience and the panelists, but then also if you have other logistic questions, we're happy to address those either live or writing in the Q&A feature. And it's nice to see you, Mauro, also another past participant attending. Okay, so Abby, you can go to the next slide. So this is the Tropical Forest Landscapes Conservation, Restoration, and Sustainable Use, our online certificate program at Yale. And it consists of a year-long program with 4 8-week online courses on the fundamentals, the social dimensions, the strategies for land use planning and implementation, and aspects of funding and financial concepts and tools. Then throughout the program, we'll have a capstone project. And so the participants here will talk more about what they've done for their capstone project. But the idea is that every step of the way for all the themes, as well as content from the project course itself, you'll be learning about tools for project planning and thinking about how the content relates to a specific geographic area. And then we have an optional 1-week visit to a field site in the tropics. And that's something that it changes year to year which country it's in. This year we'll be going to Brazil. And some of our participants here either have been participating in the field course or will be going to that one coming up. So you can ask any questions about that as well. So as I mentioned, it's a 1-year, what we're calling a high-touch program on managing tropical forest landscapes, heavily facilitated. We're here to support you every step of the way. It's designed to be part-time, so it can complement what you're doing for your work, for your personal and professional commitments. And it's in English right now. If you're interested in other languages, we do have resources in some of those other languages, so you can reach out to us. But right now, the 1-year program is in English. So who is the program for? Well, you can see from this breakdown of our participants from 2019 to 2023, it's really broad in terms of people representing nonprofits, government, private industry, academia, and other sectors. And so really, we say that this program is for anyone interested in designing, implementing, and monitoring conservation and restoration initiatives, whether you're staff members from these different sectors, whether you're graduate students or recent graduates looking to enhance your work, or even landowners, farmers, ranchers, or community organizers looking to do this program for much more personal reasons. What do you do in a given week? We can go in a lot more detail in some of our other info sessions or coffee chats, but the big picture is that you have access to educational content, videos, readings, case studies. We provide opportunities for interaction and feedback with live sessions, discussion boards, opportunities for peer-to-peer exchange, and then expert review of your assignments. And then there's a big focus throughout the program on application. Every week you do get guided exercises and self-reflections, and all of this is building towards your professional or your personal capstone project. And then, as I mentioned, we have our optional field course. Last year, we had courses in Colombia, Panama, and the Philippines to kind of make up for the break we had in the field work during the pandemic. In 2020, we also went to the Philippines, and coming up, we'll be going to Brazil, and then we'll see moving forward. Some of the benefits of the program, again, we'll get into more details of this in some of our other info sessions, but some of the feedback we've received is that with the broad range of themes covered over the course of the year and so many different speakers featured, that participants have said that it's helped them gain a holistic perspective and build their practical skills. They've appreciated access to the global network of participants from all over the world. Right now, our cohort has over 30 countries represented in our cohort of 77 participants. And then the way that there is investment in your learning success. So as I mentioned, we as designers, contributors, mentors in the program are with you every step of the way to help you be successful in this program and try to facilitate engagement amongst the participants and between the different guest experts and the cohort itself. What happens after the program? Graduates say that it's helped them apply new tools to their work, write projects or funding proposals, implement their capstone project or elements of their capstone project, improve projects, including with technical strategies or aspects of social inclusion, advance their career, including changing positions or field of work, start new educational programs, and so much more. And we'll hear directly from our participants about this from them today. A lot of questions always come up about tuition. So this year, the tuition is $6,000 US for the year-long program. That includes 4 8-week online courses in the year-long capstone, as mentioned, unlimited access to that online course material, support from the mentors throughout the program, face-to-face interaction with experts, personalized expert advice on your coursework. Then the optional field course is an additional $2,000. That's a 1-week immersion experience in the tropics that covers all the course materials, site visits, field exercises, and facilitated activities, and room, board, and transportation in the country where the field course takes place. And there are scholarships available for both of these elements. So for scholarships, there's partial scholarships available on a competitive basis. They range from 25 to 75% off of the tuition fee. You complete the scholarship application when you're in the main application, and you'll be asked to write a short essay for each of the award types when you apply. And you can apply for multiple categories. And the admissions decision, whether you're accepted to the program, is independent of scholarship requests. But you fill out the scholarship request while you're doing your application. And there's different types of awards. There's the Leadership and Impact Award, a Career Development Award, and a General Award. And as mentioned, these are competitive. There's people applying from all over the world. So keep that in mind, especially in terms of the detail and what you're writing in those essays, because that makes a big difference for the scholarship review. There's also what is called the Three Karens Fellowship. This has donor support to fully sponsor the online tuition. This is directed specifically for individuals working on climate solutions in the Global South. And to be eligible, you need to have primary citizenship from a country in the Global South, have professional or academic experience relevant to climate solutions, be actively working on climate solution implementation. And again, you complete that fellowship application as part of filling out your main application. And the admissions decisions are independent of fellowship requests. And this fellowship is very competitive. So again, please fill it out as soon as possible, but keep in mind the nature of that there's an admissions review team reviewing these when you're working on the essays associated with the scholarships. Some important dates, and then we'll move on to the panel. So applications opened already on January 10th. Our early application deadline is coming up. And so that is on February 28th. What that means is that if you apply by February 28th, we'll give you a answer on or before March 22nd. So that's really desirable, especially for those of you who are working out financial support, either from employers or from other sources who need that decision early. And then there's also, we'll still accept applications all the way through April 5th, and people who apply up by April 5th will receive a decision by May 3rd, and the program starts on June 24th. So now we'll head over to our participant panel. And so we're so pleased today to be joined by these wonderful participants. We have Godwin Cudjoe from the lead of Thriving Landscapes for Rainforest Alliance Ghana, Laura Piccoli, program coordinator for the Rainforest Foundation in the US, and then Cesar Zambrano, reforestation lead for Ponterra Americas, Panama. And so we'll have the chance to hear from this panel, and I'll introduce and call on each one of you one by one for you to share. So our first guest is Godwin Cudjoe, who participated in the program from 2022 to 2023. And as I mentioned, Godwin's working for Rainforest Alliance in Ghana. And Godwin, we'd love to hear from you a bit about yourself, your experience in the program, your perspective 9 months later, and if you can think of maybe a number one insight for prospective applicants, what would that insight be? So I'll hand it over to you, Godwin. I think you're muted, and Abby, you can pause the screen share for this part.
Yeah. Thank you, Gillian. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you've joined from. My name once again is Godwin Cudjoe. My background in terms of education, I'm agricultural engineer and environmentalist by training, but I have found myself in the natural resources and forest space for more than a decade. In fact, I'm in my 13th year. I started my career with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations as a program assistant in charge of natural resources. I later became a program officer in charge of forestry and natural resources. I got promoted as a program coordinator of a European Union program called the EU Forest Law Enforcement, Governance and Trade Program. It was meant to implement the EU Action Plan on reducing deforestation and forest degradation using trade as an instrument. Whilst at it, I became a technical coordinator of an FAO strategic objective program called Programmatic Regional Initiative aimed at reducing rural poverty. As you can see, my background, and then in terms of theory and practice, there was a gap. So I needed some cutting edge course that can bridge that gap for me. So I searched through the internet, and when I saw the online certificate course, I knew this is it. And I was super excited even before applying. So I applied, and then I got admitted, and I'm one of the few people who had scholarship. So in the process, whilst doing the certificate course, there was the need to do some coordination work within the Forestry Commission of Ghana, because the EU FLECT program that I was coordinating in FAO had an opportunity from other donors that wanted to support the process. But that needed to be coordinated by government. And with my experience with the FAO seconded me to join the Forestry Commission as the coordinator of FLECT VPA initiatives. And I did that for a year, and subsequently, I got into the commission permanently and worked with the donor relations and project unit, where I work on programs such as the Forest Investment Program, Additional Financing, Ghana Cocoa Red Plus Program, and then the Ghana Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project. So whilst at it, I was also doing the certificate course, and the concepts, the tools, from the fundamentals through the people course, through the strategies, the funding, all of them neatly tied into the Capstone project. And those tools and concepts helped me a lot, because I've been practicing what in theory I don't have the technical expertise, and needed something to just bridge that gap. And the certificate course was excellently tied in well for me. So when I completed the course, now practice and theory have aligned. So I feel very confident about the future. So immediately I finished in May, and in November, I had an appointment from a Canadian nonprofit, Société de Coopération pour le Développement International, which is headquarters in Quebec, as the environment and forestry specialist in Ghana, where I led forestry, natural resources, and climate change initiatives relating to a program called the Women and Cocoa Communities Initiative to bridge the gap of gender within the cocoa supply and value chain. Whilst at it, I was still looking for opportunities that will help me practice in totality or in full what I learned from the certificate course. So currently I work with the Rainforest Alliance, which is an American nonprofit, as the lead Thriving Landscapes. So the name itself tells you what I'm supposed to do as it relates to the certificate course. So as I speak currently, I'm having a session with my team where we are designing and developing a vision for a 244,000 hectares of a landscape, what we call the Sioux River landscape. And it encompasses 5 forest reserves. It's one of West Africa's most important cocoa growing areas. So in essence, the certificate course has been translated in action. And for me, that theory part that I lacked, the certificate course helped me to be able to have that. And for me, it's super important for me to be able to do what I love doing, but this time around with the theoretical background attached to it. If there is one thing I can say to a potential applicant, is that career trajectory is assured. If you love climate solutions, using climate tools, using climate techniques, nature-based solutions, this is the right place for you to get it. And you will never regret. In fact, the course for me, I think, say a certificate course is understatement. What you get is near a master's. So I'm recommending to the team to begin to look at the name, because you get more than a certificate. What you get is super, super more than a certificate. Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my experiences, Gillian.
Thanks, Godwin. And yeah, it's so inspiring hearing your journey, and such a great example of how even if the capstone isn't what the exact project what you're implementing, the skill building aspect should not be underestimated. That, like you said, the designing a project from start to finish and applying all these things is what you're doing right now. And so that's so exciting to hear for us, and exciting for our potential applicants to hear. So thank you. Let's hand it over to Laura. Laura Piccoli, who also participated in the 2022-2023 delivery of the program. So as I mentioned, Laura is program coordinator for Rainforest Foundation in the US. Laura, I'll extend the same questions to you. So we'd love to hear a bit about yourself, your experience during and after the program, and then a number one insight or piece of advice for applicants.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Gillian, and hello to everybody. So that's right, I'm working for Rainforest Foundation US, not to be confused with Godwin's Rainforest Alliance. We're a much smaller organization that focuses on supporting Indigenous land rights and land management, environmental monitoring, and capacity building. At the time that I joined this program, I was working mainly in grant administration and providing general support to our programs team. I was just a few years out of my master's program in global affairs and environmental policy, so earlier in my career than Godwin. But the ELTI program presented an excellent opportunity to deepen my knowledge about this area of work, even though the Rainforest Foundation doesn't specifically focus on land restoration. This program really tied into my work with Indigenous peoples and local communities and designing projects around land management. So I would say the knowledge that I gained in the 5 courses, including the Capstone course, have been really foundational in the way that I approach my work at Rainforest Foundation. I think I had the most fun in the strategies course because a lot of those concepts were very new to me. But the peoples and the funding courses, so I had already had a baseline understanding of those topics, but the ELTI program really helped to deepen my knowledge about those topics and have proved to be really important in the way that I approach working with Indigenous peoples and local communities on project design and monitoring and evaluation. And even though I had been working in grant administration at the time of this program, I had never built my own budgets. And now I have the skills to do that. And I have done that for grant proposals since the program. So that's to say that what you'll learn in this program are really hard skills that you can apply to your work setting. The skills that I learned in the Capstone course, so creating conceptual models, stakeholder analyses, strategies and actions, monitoring frameworks. I have applied all of those tools in my work. And in fact, those have been fundamental in my advancement in Rainforest Foundation. So I have been working as a program coordinator, but recently I was actually just promoted to a program manager for our Guyana program. And so thank you. So I'm currently transitioning to that role. And it's definitely true that that wouldn't have happened without this course. The skills that I learned in this course definitely led to that advancement. And in fact, last week, just this past week, I was in Guyana working with Indigenous partners on a conceptual model for their headwaters management plan. So I would say one of the main insights from this program, take advantage of everything, take advantage of connecting with your classmates. Everybody's coming from different backgrounds that are all complementary, and you're just going to have, it's going to be a lot of fun, and you get to work with world-class teachers. And yeah, thank you. Thanks, Gillian and Abby.
Thanks, Laura. So nice to hear. I get choked up just listening to you guys, but it's really special. And it's wonderful for us to hear how things have influenced, and also that inspiring to hear your journey. And I'm so excited to hear what both of you guys do next in your new roles. So, yeah. Um, Cesar, let's go to you. Cesar is currently enrolled in the program and is reforestation lead for Ponterra Americas in Panama. Cesar, similar questions, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience in the program so far, knowing that you're still in it, and your number one piece of advice for potential applicants.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, and good night, everybody. My name is Cesar Zambrano. I am from Panama, Azuero Peninsula, and well, just to let you know, Azuero is most deforested area in Panama, and we're the cowboys of the Panama country. So for me, it's been coming from that kind of business. Uh, it's been like a revelation, and right now I'm leading a big project about 10,000 hectares. I'm the Reforestation lead for Ponterra Americas, and this project is going to is founded by carbon credits, but based on restoring biodiversity, and we're focused on uplifting local communities as well. So what I have to tell you is that before this course, my career was like more than empiric forester career. So I do trial and error, and that was my like way to learn. But with this course, I learned I have learned to plan our project based on more science learning, and I have the opportunity to see different projects, even in the ones in Azuero, but another ones in all over the world. And well, if I have to give you an advice, is to anyone that working in the restoration field, is take this course, because you're gonna learn a lot in different say the different topics, because I am more from the field, but I also learn about people, about fundamentals. So right now, most than what happens in the field, I am in love with social all that livelihoods, and to do the project go to a good success. And I am pleased about the mentors. They have a lot of knowledge, and with each week, I realized that this is so big. It's like the Mr. Cudjoe said. This is like a master. Um, um, I'm not too expensive for the information that we have. And well, yeah, I will say where my capstone right now this year is 1,200 hectares to make a connectivity in a tropical dry forest and build climate resilience. And yeah, with different use of land, like silvopastoral systems, agroforestry, reforestation with endangered species, um, enrichment planting, etc. So I'm very pleased that being here, because I was just an organic agriculture and empiric forester working with an NGO right now, with a profit company, but always looking for the communities that try to do the things well. And that's my perspective, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Cesar. And it's so interesting to hear again the range of backgrounds that you guys have, or like Laura mentioned, being more familiar with the social aspects through her work and everything, and then the strategies course was very new for her. And then Cesar, you're all on the flip side, more familiar with the technical details, but then digging into everything else. So what's been really neat too is to see that it's the range of ways in which people engage with the material. You can complement your backgrounds, but then also share your knowledge with each other. So yeah, we're going to head now to talking about the Capstone project specifically. So a big question that comes in from potential applicants is uncertainty about what is the Capstone, what can I do, what types of themes do people do? So it'll be great to hear from you guys more about that. The Capstone project is a major part of the certificate program, as I mentioned in the presentation slides. From moment one, the participants are encouraged to think about how the content you're learning applies to the specific landscape or region. And it's the way in which you can practice each of the strategic planning tools that are introduced over the course of the year. Some of you have been engaged in projects that directly relate to your work. Other participants have to do with the places that they live, and others just are interested in the subject and have partners or collaborators that they use to connect with the capstone. Some of the most frequent questions we get is what is the capstone like, and what are some examples? So it'd be great for you all to give a glimpse into your own projects and share with everyone, what did you focus on and why? And for those of you who finished the program already, if there's anything specific you want to mention about how the capstone has been implemented or applied, although both Laura and Godwin talked a little bit about that already, but you can keep that in your minds as well. So we'll start with Cesar, then we'll go to Laura and Godwin. So go ahead, Cesar. Could you tell us a little bit more about what the theme of your project was and why?
Well, we start with a pilot project to looking for a funding for 10,000 hectares big project. So this year I will implement many things that I learned in the course to collaborate with my peers in the company to looking for that funds to go to the big project. And right now we're really close to sign the big project. So it's amazing because we're gonna change the environment, we're gonna change the landscape in a region that it was devastated for cattle grazing year by year. And right now we have a gap to change the thing because many social problems or economical problems about cattle and the climate change and etc. And yeah, I'm gonna talking more about the capstone, right? Yeah, but well, we're ahead to restore this year 12,000 hectares in tropical dry forest in private owned land, sorry, to build climate resilience for rural communities. I am proposing several alliances within the restoration area, like silvopastoral systems, agroforestry, reforestation with endangered native species, and natural regeneration. That include the community. So we develop, for example, community nurseries. We build community environmental committees also, and we focus on people. And yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. And yeah,
Thanks, Cesar. Yeah, it's so neat. Your project is really exciting because you're, like I mentioned, there's such a range of the ways and different people relate to the projects. And yours is so directly tied to the work that you are doing right now to implement this big restoration project. So it's been great to see your journey of, planning out the different land use strategies like silvopastoral and reforestation areas, and then also integrating the concepts of the people course from in the
Yeah,
stakeholder
the
engagement.
the people course, uh, to be like honest, in the beginning it was like, oh, bored, because I am from, to the field. But after I understood, like, if you don't have the people engaged with your project, you don't have nothing. It can be charcoal after 15 years or 20 years. So right now we're focused more on people, also the ecologic part. But without people, you don't have anything.
Yeah, thanks, Cesar. Let's go to Laura.
Great. So my capstone project was titled Safeguarding Biodiversity and Indigenous Livelihoods in Guyana's North Pacaramas Mountains. My capstone was adapted from a real project that we were working on in the Pacaramas Mountains. So you can see in the left map, the Pacaramas Mountains have a variety of ecosystems that include submontane tropical forest, lowland tropical forest, lowland and upland savannas. And it's an area with high species diversity and endemism. It's also the ancestral home of the Patamona people that currently live on 22 titled villages extending across 300,000 hectares. But those titled villages only make up about 26% of what they consider to be their ancestral territory. And they continue to use their ancestral territory for subsistence, hunting, fishing, and gathering. So you can see in the map on the right, the threats that affect that area, mainly being commercial mining, which you see outlined in red. Those are mining concessions. And then also logging concessions, which unfortunately that information isn't publicly available, so it doesn't appear on this map. But working with our Indigenous partner, so we worked with the North Pacaramas District Council, which represents the 22 villages in this territory, and came up with a project vision, being that we were going to bring 500,000 hectares of highly endemic rainforest landscape under Indigenous ownership and management. So we identified 4 targets. Rainforest canopy cover is maintained, water quality is maintained, diversity and abundance of freshwater fish is sustained, and food security for Indigenous communities is increased. And Abby, you can move to the next slide. So we came up with 4 strategies. Conducting an advocacy campaign to change the law regarding Indigenous land rights, to give them easier access to land rights, gaining land title extensions. And you can see in this map, there are white outlines for where the communities were going to apply for land title extensions across their ancestral territory. Then we were going to build the North Pacaramas District Council's capacity to manage that land and create a shared use areas plan or a management plan so that the communities could agree on rules and recommendations for how to sustainably use these big areas of land that they use jointly for subsistence activities. So those strategies were then broken down into a number of activities. which then we built, or I built a budget off of. And that budget was going to be $460,000 over the 3-year project. So like I said, this project was adapted from a real project. And so there are pieces of this plan that are currently being implemented. The communities have almost all have applied for land title extensions. We continue to advocate for changes to the law and are building the North Pacaramas District Council's financial and operational capacity. And we are in the process continuing to work on a shared use areas plan. That's it for me, Gillian.
Great. Thank you so much, Lara. That's so helpful to give our participants kind of the visuals and an idea of how everything was working for your project, and then also how it related to being a project that you're working on with a whole bunch of other people. Even though you're the one who went through this program, what you're able to kind of translate those learnings and integrate them into collaborative efforts. So let's go to Godwin. And what's also exciting is Godwin worked as a partner with Moro, who's also one of our attendees here. So that's exciting. Hi, Moro. So yeah, Godwin, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Gillian. Like you rightly said, for the Capstone project, you have the opportunity to partner with a colleague. And then during my time, I partnered with Moro Tofik. Next slide. Okay, so this is a map of where the project site is. This is a map of Ghana, and the project site is in one of the forest reserves, and this is where it is specifically located in Ghana. Okay, so this map gives an indication of the forest cover map in 2011 and then 2020. In 2011, as you can see, there were some degradation within the landscape, but this became very heavy in 2020, as you can see here, and around all the yellow patches are croplands and other degradation within the landscape. Again, you can see that, can we go back to that? Again, you can see that the closed forest, as in 2011, was a little over 19,000 hectares. But because of the degradation within the landscape, it reduced to 11,000, a little over 11,000 hectares. And then this translated into open forest. So as you can see, the open forest was about a little over 2,000 hectares, and this increased sharply to a little over 8,000 hectares in 2020, comparing from 2011 to 2020. Again, you can see also that the cropland in 2011 was just about 342,000 hectares, and this translated into 2,100, over 2,000 hectares within the landscape. And these are the key what we call the threats or direct influences within the landscape. Next slide. Okay, so when Laura was speaking, or when she was highlighting her submission, she mentioned about the conceptual framework. This is one tool that you become very conversant with the Capstone project. And you are fortunate to be here to have an idea of how it looks like. So you begin to have a better indication of how it's going to look at. So basically, in designing your project, you want to look at what your key influences or the stressors or the direct threats. And for this project, the direct threats are illegal mining, illegal logging, illegal farming, and wildfires. But then beyond this, there are some contributing factors, or what we call the underlying factors that affect or contribute to the direct threats. And for the purposes of our project, it will overpopulation, poverty, weak forest law enforcement, and poor farm yields. Next slide, please. In the midst of all these threats, we had an opportunity, and that opportunity was the fact that government and community in the forest landscape have an interest in restoration and conservation. So for that, that was a very good opportunity to leverage on their interest to be able to implement this activity or this project. Cesar mentioned that without people, you will not be able to implement any meaningful initiative. So with the interest of the government, which is the regulator, and the forest range communities, we had an opportunity to be able to implement this action. Next. Okay, so once you have identified your influences or your direct threats, your contributing factors, you want to look at your strategies. Which strategies do you want to implement to achieve those, to be able to minimize those influences in order to meet your target? So one of them was to train forest guards and CRIMA leaders. CRIMA leaders is community resource management areas. And this is a concept where the resource within the area is devolved to the leaders of the CRIMA to be able to protect and conserve the forest. And this is a concept that is being implemented in Ghana. And again, it helps in forest conservation and restoration activities. So the idea is that if you train the forest guards are supposed to be within the forest reserve and protect the forest. So if their capacity is improved, they should be able to enforce the law. And if they enforce the law, the idea is that it should have a rippling effect in reducing illegal mining, illegal logging, illegal farming, and wildfires. That will have a rippling effect on our conservation targets that I've mentioned or discussed moving forward. Next. There are other strategies that we're using to implement this project. One of them is what we call the modified tanger system. The modified tanger system, an agro-successional system. And the idea is that if we're able to implement this system, it will have a direct impact on sustainable sources of income as a target. We also have dredging here. As you can see, the dredging is, the color code is different. We don't have resources to implement this action, but we realize it's one of the key strategies that we need to implement to ensure that the water bodies are restored. So if you have additional funding in the future, we should be able to implement that as a strategy. Next, please. We have other strategies like modified tanger system, which is a variant of agroforestry, where reserves that are degraded are given to farmers to plant crops and trees and nurture the trees. Once the canopy is about to close, they move to another degraded area. We have enrichment planting and agro-successional system as a strategy. As you can see, it's not always the case that your strategy must have a rippling effect directly on the contributing factor. There are instances that your strategy would definitely impact directly on the target that you are looking at. And for this instance, the natural forest resource restoration, these strategies impact directly on it. Next slide. These are our 4 main strategies that we are implementing within this project. Natural forest restored, white-necked Piccoli population increase, water bodies restored, and sustainable sources of income. And all these strategies that I have mentioned, they accumulate into helping us achieve these strategies. And once these strategies, once these targets are achieved, we should be able to achieve our vision, which is the intent or the statement of intent or the bigger picture that we were looking for the forest reserve. And that is forest reserves in the Nkawe Forest District of the Ashanti region of Ghana restored to sustain the flora and fauna in the landscape and improve the livelihoods of forest range communities. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So basically, that is the Capstone project that I designed together with my colleague, and then that is what we are implementing within the Forest Reserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Godwin, and also thank you, Mauro Taufik, who worked with you on this exciting project. And so it's really cool for the participants joining us today to see that very specific example of one of the tools that you get to know, this conceptual model that and how you build that over the course of the program. And as Laura mentioned, it's something that you can use those skills after the program. So that's really, really helpful. So thank you so much. So we have, I think we have our time for Q&A, although we are like right about 5 minutes till the end. So I see, Abby, I don't know if you have, I see one question in the Q&A still, or I don't know if you have a different question that from the chat.
I'll look through. We can go ahead with that first question you have, and I'll take a look.
Okay, so the question is this a good program for those who have interest in regenerative agriculture? So I'll turn that on the panel. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah.
Can I go?
Please. Yeah, please do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Regenerative agriculture, by my understanding, is trying to make the soil very healthy so that it can give the base in terms of production. So if this project is looking at all the aspects, agroforestry and related areas, so regen in itself is incorporated in the entire project design. So I think it's super important and very powerful. It's not, they align. It's not that it's a different concept altogether. Essentially, regen is trying to give, and if you look at agroforestry is a subset of regenerative agriculture. So basically, the entire process is aligned, and I think it aligns with regenerative agriculture practices and principles. Yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah.
Any other comments on that, Cesar or Laura?
Well, that's right. Regenerative agriculture. I'm sorry, this is my second language, so that's why I'm like not good talking. But in Spanish, you can hear me a lot more. But yeah, it means everything. Restoration is nothing without regenerative. So you build the soil, you plant a lot of in the basics, like bunch of different species, and make a lot of organic matter and use microorganisms, etc., etc. So everything is going together. Organic agriculture, regenerative agriculture, restoration, and yeah, also the home gardens and organic orchards, and then you have the different use of lands, and you can have your food close to your house. Then you have your silvopastoral system. Then you have your agroforestry, and then you have your restoration, and everything connect holistic. So yeah, you're in the good spot.
Great, thank you, Cesar and Godwin.
We did have, sorry, Gillian. We did have a question in the chat earlier. Cesar, I believe this is when you were presenting, but we had someone asking about how you were creating some community nurseries. If you wanted to talk about that for a little bit, that'd be great.
Well, I've been working with NGO, well known in Anzuelo Peninsula. It calls Equasuero. They restore forests to recover a monkey spider population. So they have environmental education program that they go to all the schools in the little towns, and through the kids they talk to the families, and we're looking for people that enjoy or wants to fix the climate change that we're having right now, and we're build a community I'm sorry, environmental committee in the different towns. So from that environmental committee, we ask them, okay, which one want to grow saplings for the project? And that's why we have many micro producers. We call micro producers. They're actually community nurseries, but they grow the saplings in their houses. It's not like a community nursery. It's like they have the nurseries in their houses, and uh, we go with them. We teach them. We make many workshops about organic agriculture, how to go harvest the seeds and the health trees, and we teach them. We all of us learn about the forest, because most of these people know a lot about the forest. So it's a learning. Everybody learns, and everybody getting engaged. And at the end, they have an income from the restoration, And we start with, for example, 8 people, and right now we're have more than 40 persons, and keep increase uh, every week. Yeah, and there's another interest point here, that is in these community nurseries, it works the grandmother, grandfather, father, son, grandson. So everybody change learnings, and that's the best part about the community nurseries. That all of the family are involved in the project.
Thanks, Cesar. I think we're just right about at our time. So I know we could keep going for a long time. If you have other questions, if you can send them the tropical certificate at yale.edu, we can either answer your questions about the program or direct them to any of our panelists if they have questions specifically for them. But I want to extend a really heartfelt thank you to Laura, Cesar, and Godwin for coming and sharing your perspectives and what you've been up to. And I'll hand it off to Abby to wrap us up with some announcements.
Great. Thank you, Gillian. And thank you to our 3 panelists. It's really fantastic to hear from all of you. All right, so like Gillian said, we're just going to go through a couple last minute details, hopefully answer any questions about the program that you guys have. I know we're just about at time, but just a reminder, applications are currently open. The first deadline coming up is February 28th, and you'll receive your decision by March 22nd. And the final program deadline is April 5th, and you'll receive your admission decision after by May 3rd, sorry. All right, so details on how to apply. You can visit tropicalrestorationcertificate.yale.edu/admissions to review all the application requirements. We also have program dates, so the timeline for what the program will look like next year, all the requirements for applications, as well as scholarship details, payment details, all of that. That's all on our website there, which we can put in the chat. Again, final deadline's April 5th, so make sure you review all these requirements, the program dates, everything before that time, and get your applications in. So for application requirements, you do need to submit the online application form, your resume, a personal statement, and 2 short response statements, which you'll have the prompt for within the application. A scanned or electronic transcript. If it is in a different language, we do need it translated into English in order to be submitted and reviewed by our review committee, and 1 professional reference. You will have the opportunity, as Gillian mentioned earlier with the scholarships, to apply for different scholarships within this application. Each scholarship portion has a different essay, so that's all included in the main application, and it won't let you submit it unless you review that, so you won't miss out on it. Some optional materials you can include within your application form include any documentation or of additional coursework that you'd like noted, as well as the TOEFL or IELTS test score reports. This is not like this is optional, it's not required at all. So if you feel like that would help with your application, if it's something you want the review committee to review, please feel free to submit it, but it's not required. And then just a couple tips for submitting your application. So first, review requirements and begin gathering your materials early on. Be sure to contact your professional reference ahead of time so that they know to expect an email from us requesting the reference. Be sure to pay special attention to the essay requirements, and as Gillian mentioned earlier, answer in as much detail as you would like the review committee to see. And lastly, be sure to contact Tropical Certificate at yale.edu if you have any questions, any technical issues, or anything like that during the application process. All right, for more information, we would love for you to join us next week for a coffee chat or two, really. So these are smaller informal sessions where you're free to ask questions, chat with either myself, Gillian, or some of our other program mentors. I just put in the chat there the registration links, so please feel free to sign up for those, ask a couple more questions about the program. Beyond that, you can visit our website again, tropicalrestorationcertificate.yale.edu to learn more about the program, or you can email us at tropicalcertificate@yale.edu and schedule a one-on-one call with our program mentors. So with that, again, a thank you to our panelists, to Gillian for joining me here today. We're happy you all joined us, and we hope you all get your applications in soon. We're really excited to see them all. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Abby. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.